While we wait, okay, Mangrove is an early-stage, mid-stage venture capital company from Luxembourg. Been going since 2000, and lots of nice investments, lots of nice exits. The best ones for the company were the Skype. They were an early investor in Skype, where I was running the operations there and came over to Mangrove afterwards. I thought it was really interesting to jump from running phone companies to becoming a venture capitalist, and I'm still there, so there's hope yet for everybody. I'm waiting for a few people to show up. Thank you for coming so early, everybody. In our portfolio now, we have a few companies. The most successful one we have is Wix. The most successful, I don't know, but it's the listed company, which is $1 billion valuation approximately just now, and that's really nice for us, of course, to be sitting with that. Other companies we've invested in recently, I'll talk about 3 of them during the presentation, but some German companies, Nespik, Lazara, super companies that we're working with today, good founders, and fantastic growth. That's what we, of course, like as a venture capital organization. We like to get in early with companies. We like to work with them. We think we can participate in the growth of the company and get a good empathy with the founders. And I think if we're going to say something, all of the founders we work with have been reasonably happy for us. At least they probably don't recognize the stories you hear in the newspaper about venture capitalists and stuff like that. You set the clock going, so we may as well start then. So let's have a go. Let's see how we're going. In the old days of building companies, it was always very complicated, right? You had to server rooms and all of this sort of thing. You had to throw technology at stuff, and people they marveled at the technology when people running the business they set people off down into the server, and they set people working. It was tremendously hard work, but it was fascinating for people. And the people running the business like this, they go down and look occasionally. They couldn't imagine how this stuff was going to work. But things have changed, right? And we all know about technology. And as we see, this is a toothbrush. And I talked about toothbrushes last year at NOAH. And there are a lot of toothbrushes in the world, but there aren't as many toothbrushes as there are mobile phones now. There's 4.2 billion toothbrushes, they say, and 4.8 billion mobile phones or something, according to our friends at Samsung, at least. So people would rather use a mobile phone than brush their teeth, which is an interesting thing. Because what that does is it puts the technology into the hands of people, as we know that. Mobile phones are everywhere. And what do people want in life? Why do people have mobile phones? Why do people have mobile computers in their pocket? They do it for 3 reasons. They do it because they want more money. How can a mobile phone save me money? Technology. They want to save time. They want more status. They want to feel secure. They want to look smart. And they want sex. These are the 6 primary motivations. As anybody who read marketing would know, they're the 6 primary motivations for anybody wanting to buy a product at all. And as we invest in companies, we have to think, does this product satisfy any of these basic needs? And of course, for consumers, that's easy because this is very direct. And we've solved that with different products. We solved saving money on phone calls or something with Skype. We saved time with mapping products or whatever. Status with LinkedIn. Security with security products. Status, making yourself look good through Facebook. Even sex we solve through Tinder or dating platforms or whatever. And they've been the staple of the consumer internet, which we've seen over the last 5 or 10 years grow up through the mobile phone of whatever, since 2008 or something. But these people, these innovations, some of the things we see, they're just close to being cool. They're not innovative at all. They're just slightly improving people's lives. And there's a lot of people sitting around wondering about that. So what are these people doing? Well, people aren't just having a private life, they're having a working life. They're working in factories, they're working in warehouses, they're driving around the city. And they're doing that all over the world. They're not just doing this in Silicon Valley. In fact, there's more people doing real jobs probably outside Silicon Valley than inside Silicon Valley. And these people are at the workplace. And they're doing something interesting now. This lady at SKF has got her own iPad in the workplace. She's using that, using a functionality that she's found herself and brought into the workplace, this famous bring your own device story. And she's not alone. a lot of people are bringing their own technology into the workplace, and technology is becoming there. This is a lady we back, Paulina. Paulina runs a chain of gas stations. And Paulina has a problem. Gas stations have a lot of employees. They're people that come and go. People come in, and sometimes the guy just doesn't show up for his shift, and you try and call him, and he's moved, or he's gone to live in Italy or something like that, and he doesn't know what to do. And she found it a very difficult job to recruit and find staff, as you know yourself. She was talking about it with her friend, Eugene here, and Eugene was a technologist. He actually works with us a lot, and she was talking about this. She invented a product, and the product now is called Job Today. Job Today is a sort of a Tinder for jobs, if you want to call it like that. And this company now, already in 1 month, is processing 250,000 job applications. So growing like a weed. But it's because these two guys, the lady Paulina, she had this problem with getting her staff that she recognized. She's not a technologist, but she could see on the mobile phone that something could be done there. And Eugene enabled that to happen. Another guy, this is another guy we've backed. He's called Christian. And you can see behind him, he's in a church. His mother is a priest, and he could see the difficulties that his mother had running her church using old-fashioned technology. So he invented a product called Church Desk, which is a management product for churches and their members and their congregation. And this has also, in these niches, found complete dominance. Every single church in Denmark is using this thing and is rolling out into the UK. Again, a product that's come from a guy or from a family who didn't really understand technology but can see the power of it in the device they've got. And this is Prafulla. Prafulla is an Indian guy. He was a traveler and his family are into hotels. And he wanted these services out of his hotel. We'd think they were strange. A complimentary breakfast is nice. You don't always get that in London, and free Wi-Fi, not always. But in India, air conditioning rooms is shaky. Even if it's in the advert, it probably doesn't work. Maybe crisp and clean. By that, they mean a room which is clean. In India, if you're a normal business traveler or a sort of low-end traveler or whatever, when you go to a guest house, the chances are the sheets haven't been cleaned for a week. Right? And that sounds weird for us, and we laugh about it. But you want to be sure about that. Some people, standards are going up. And you want a TV. You want to be able to watch the TV. And Prafulla would love that in all his rooms, so he created a company called Woodstay. And again, not particularly a technologist, but he could feel these needs, and the technology in his pocket made it all possible. And we're seeing that in Mangrove all over the world now. We think these projects are coming from everywhere. They're huge, valuable niches. They're enabled by the technology, and they're developed by people from the industry. And this makes me very happy about being, first of all, this famous Europe, Silicon Valley story. These companies are coming from everywhere. They're coming from Europe. They're coming from niches. They're coming from people in industries. And the whole startup environment is giving them the opportunity to flourish. And they're not necessarily coming from Silicon Valley and all of that, right? The Silicon Valley projects we see are mainly solving the needs of Silicon Valley people. A lot of them are anyway. And we see that. We don't like that. We think we've got the opportunity everywhere else where there's so much left. Because there's so many people, right? There's so many people in the world, and they're all cheering because they've got their mobile phones. These guys are all waving mobile phones around. All guys who are using technology every day, they've been trained in technology. If I go back right to the top, when I started in computing or training people in computers, I had to use the first morning training people how to use a mouse. Move it up, click, move it up, click. Oh, it was really weird to spend the first 3 hours of a training session on that. People don't need that training anymore. They're used to interacting with a mobile device and a mobile computer. So we think the world's bullish. We love that. We're bullish about the world around here. We're bullish about the world of verticals. We're extremely interested in projects from the industry, for the industry, because they're very, very sticky. And the thing about being very, very sticky and solving local needs is you don't need to advertise them that much. I mean, we see a lot of the consumer internet stuff. They're financing Google, the venture capital money, the private equity money. It's actually basically going into the pockets of the Google advertising to compete and fight about this stuff. These verticals, they're much more specific, much more interesting, much less customer acquisition costs. And these people like these are producing them, people from the remote part of India, from Luxembourg, from Denmark, not from Silicon Valley, not from the financial centers or wherever, from anywhere. They're doing that. And that's why Mangrove's bullish about that. And the best thing is we're cutting Google out of the whole equation. Our venture capital money isn't going to fuel Google. So if I have one piece of advice out of here, it may be even short Google, because people are going to be finding the solutions themselves in the future. I'm not sure about that. Thank you for listening.